Hello and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Randy4short or Randy4short, and in today's video we are going to be doing my weekly breakdown for my March budget. So if this budget format or monthly budget looks unfamiliar to you, then you probably missed my first two videos about my March budget, my March setup, and the March monthly budget. So go back and watch those two videos and then this layout will make sense. So without further ado, let's jump right in and I'm going to show you guys how I intend to use this weekly breakdown. So again, ignore that it says week 1 through week 5 up here. I am going to change it so that it's just numbered 1 through 5 because we are paid weekly. So I do want to have that option of being able to track our expenses weekly. But how I am going to use this is by paycheck. So paycheck 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So what I could do and what I did February, because I have been using this since February. I just didn't show it on screen. But I came up with this and then I practiced with it with my February budget. So in February, what I did was based on my monthly calendar, this would be week 1, week 2, week 3, 4, 5. And then I would write all of the expenses in the corresponding week. And then I would add up these 2 weeks to get the expenses for paycheck 1. And then week 3 and 4 for paycheck 2 and so on and so forth. But I am actually just going to try putting all of the expenses, no matter where they fall on the calendar. I'm going to treat these like paychecks. So if I put it in the first column, that means I want to pay the expense in paycheck number 1. So I hope that makes sense. So let's get started. So for the income, let me zoom you guys in. Okay, so for the income, I need to know this business income is paying for my business expenses. So before I can split up my income, I need to know where those business expenses fall. So let's look. So my business expenses is iCloud, Adobe Cloud, and Epidemic Sound. So let's look on the monthly calendar to see where those fall, to see whether I pay them in paycheck 1 or paycheck 2. So iCloud and Adobe Cloud conveniently fall on the 14th. So I get paid on the 12th. So that means that this is going to be in paycheck number 2 for me. So iCloud and Adobe Cloud are going to fall in paycheck number 2 because paycheck number 1 is on February 26th. So let's go ahead and write that in column number 2 to make sure that it's paid in paycheck number 2. So Epidemic Sound comes out on the 16th, which falls in my paycheck number 2. So all of my business expenses come out in paycheck number 2. So all of my business income that I'm going to use to pay for my business expenses is going to fall in paycheck number 2. So I'm going to put the whole amount, the $44.98, in paycheck number 2. So if you miss my monthly budget, this first column is the amount for the month. So I'm going to either allocate that whole amount to either paycheck 1 or paycheck 2, or I'm going to split it if it's an expense like gas or groceries that needs to be paid in, all throughout the month. So in both paychecks. So this right here, I am actually going to split. So this is going to be, paycheck 1 is going to be $2,450. And then paycheck 2 is going to be $2,450. And then rollover is going to be to pay for our mortgage, because we're 1 month ahead on our mortgage. And sorry guys, I have to tilt this sideways in order to write. So sorry with all the swiveling. But our mortgage falls on the 1st and we get paid on February 26th. So I want that money to be available in paycheck number 1 in order to cover our mortgage on the 1st. So I'm going to write that whole amount in paycheck number 1. So $1,859.45. Okay, so now that we have split up all of our income, I'm going to just add the 2 paychecks to know what we're working with for like income wise for paycheck number 1 and paycheck number 2. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so paycheck number 1, we are working with $4,309.45. And then paycheck number 2, we are working with $2,494.98. Okay, so now I'm going to split up my expenses, but I'm going to do my bills first according to this calendar to see whether they fall in paycheck number 1 or paycheck number 2. So I'm not going to worry about my income right now. So my mortgage, again, falls in paycheck number 1 because we already looked at that. So put it in the first column. Okay. Now, childcare is due every 2 weeks. So I'm going to split that monthly amount into 2 in order to pay for that in both paychecks. So $560 for paycheck 1, $560 for paycheck 2. Water and trash is due on the 23rd, which falls into paycheck number 2. So I'm going to put that in column 2. Electric, which is Edison, falls, oh, you guys can even see, falls on the 20th. So I'm going to put that in paycheck number 2. So natural gas falls on the 14th, which is after paycheck number 2. So that goes in column number 2. Life insurance for me and my husband. My life insurance falls on the 5th, which falls into paycheck number 1. But my husband's life insurance falls on the 20th, which lands in paycheck number 2. So let's go ahead and put those in the appropriate column. Okay, Vivint is our home insurance, and that falls on the 1st, which falls into paycheck number 1. So go ahead and put that in the first column. Okay, MetLife falls on the 22nd. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in paycheck number 2. Frontier and Verizon. I know for sure Verizon falls in paycheck number 2. It has been for like quite some time. As for Frontier, that falls into paycheck number 1. So let's put those in their respective columns. And then ID theft and Hulu and like all of our subscriptions. I believe these fall together. So let's look. ID theft. Oh, I need to put childcare right here. Okay, so ID theft falls on the 26th. And I need to get a little sticker to put right there too. Let's do that really quick. ID theft, let's go ahead and use an umbrella because an umbrella I kind of associate with insurance. So let's put that right there. Okay, so back to it. What I say, ID theft is on the 1st. Disney Plus, Netflix. Netflix falls in paycheck number 2. So got to make a mental note of that. So Disney Plus, Hulu, and ID theft falls in paycheck number 1 with Netflix falling in paycheck number 2. So let's do that. ID theft, paycheck number 1. Hulu, paycheck number 1. Netflix is paycheck number 2. And Disney Plus is paycheck number 1. Okay, so we got all of those expenses. And then gas, groceries, Costco, and diapers. Let's go ahead and split those up. The diapers we're going to wait on until we see how much is left over from after we take out our essentials, like our 4 walls. Then we're going to do diapers and wipes and the sinking funds. So gas and groceries needs to be paid every 2 weeks. So split that monthly amount into 2, and you have $110 for paycheck number 1 and $110 for paycheck number 2. Split groceries in half. You have $150 and $150. Split Costco in half. You have $100 and $100. So again, we're going to skip diapers and wipes right now, and I'm going to look and see everything else that is time sensitive. So if you didn't catch on to what I was doing right then, I'm doing the bills first because those are time sensitive. Those have a due date. And then gas and groceries in Costco, we need food and gas to get to work. So those are time sensitive as well, at least for us. So if you know you balling out of control and you can put gas and groceries in your house at any point in time, whether you get paid or not, then those aren't as time sensitive to you and you can put those wherever. But for us, I like to make sure that I'm putting money in our account every 2 weeks, no matter if we have money in there or not. Just so we always have money in our gas and groceries, no matter what. So that's how I do it. You can choose to do it another way. So sinking funds are not time sensitive, nor are they essential. They are just something that we do in order to help pay for expenses that we know are going to come. So yeah, and then planned expenses are things that are typically like one-time expenses that have to do with this month. So like our rollover, we are 1 month ahead again on our mortgage. So we want to stay 1 month ahead. So I have to figure out from which budget, like how much to take from which budget in order to make sure that we come up with this monthly amount. So I'll have to do that after we calculate how much income is left over from our expenses. So I'm going to skip that one. Amazon Prime is actually due, is time sensitive to renew it. And this LastPass app is time sensitive as well. And let me double check and see when they fall or when they're due. Okay, so I was on this page. So Amazon Prime is due on the 7th and LastPass is due on the 4th. So I'm actually going to get my stickers out so that I can put those on the monthly calendar. Okay, so I'm gonna coordinate with my my budget guide. I already have the dots colored that I want to pick out. So excuse me while I do that really quick. And these dots are mine, like I created them. So all right. So as you guys will tell, I am like super extra when it comes to me creating stuff. Like I like for it to have like a professional or quality feel because since we are on such a tight budget, I'm trying to make as many stickers myself, but just because I make them doesn't mean that I want them to be like poor quality. So that's why you might see some that are like, it looks like maybe I bought them instead of created them. So just excuse my extraness. But anyways, so what I say, Amazon Prime is due on the 7th and LastPass on the 4th. So on the 4th and on the 7th still falls into paycheck number 1. And I think for paycheck number 1, I'm going to use my blue dots. All right. So, and then paycheck number 2 will get the purple dots. So let's see. So both of those on paycheck number 1, so they both go into the first column. All right, so these are time sensitive as well, but I already allocated all of them to paycheck number 2, so I'm not going to worry there. So what I'm going to do now that I've figured out where all of the time sensitive bills go, I'm going to add up all of my expenses and subtract it away from my income to know how much I have left from paycheck number 1 and paycheck number 2 in order to allocate the rest of the sinking funds and like the planned expenses and the diapers and wipes to either paycheck number 1 or paycheck number 2. So let me go ahead and add up all of the expenses. All right, so for paycheck number one, we are up to $3,079.76. Okay, so let's double check really quick before we even move on to paycheck number two, whether that is below our income for paycheck number one. So that definitely is, we have about $1,300 left from paycheck number one. So let's move on to paycheck number two. So really quick, in the case that our expenses was more than the income for paycheck number one, what I would have done was move some of the expenses from paycheck number one to paycheck number two. Or because right now, like while I'm recording this, I am still in February paycheck number two. So this budget hasn't even begun yet. So if it was a case where our income did not exceed our expenses for paycheck number one, then that would allow me time right now in February paycheck number two in order to come up with a game plan to help cover the expenses in paycheck number one in the case that none of these expenses could be moved to paycheck number two because they're time sensitive. So I hope that made sense. So let's move on to paycheck number two. And also too, if I didn't have the money right now in February, paycheck number two, then that tells me that, oh, for paycheck number one, I'm going to be pulling from some savings in order to help cover paycheck number one. So that's another alternative as well. So let's do paycheck number two. Okay, so for paycheck number two, we have $1,670.93. So let's double check to make sure that is under paycheck number two's income, which it is. We have about $800 to play with in paycheck number two. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to divide up or like allocate the rest of the expenses to either paycheck number one or paycheck number two. So I'm going to be kind of like talking to myself right now because I'm thinking to myself. So, yeah. Okay. So diapers and wipes, I would like to fall into paycheck number one just because, what is it? Well, actually we have diapers right now. So, and we have a good amount and we have wipes. So I can put that in paycheck number two. So let's go ahead and do that. So diapers and wipes, let's put in paycheck number two. So let's do $40 there. And then car repair and maintenance. I will have to pay my car registration next month in April and get a small check. So car repair maintenance, I think I'm going to put it in paycheck number one. So let's see. House supplies, we are low on house supplies. So I'm going to put that in paycheck number one as well. And then clothing, the seasons aren't changing just yet. Like it's going to be spring. So, and our son, has money in our sinking fund already. So it's not really time sensitive, but, just because paycheck number one has the most money, I'm going to put it in paycheck number one. So toiletries, fun, and medical. So medical is basically the money that's left over after this entire month's paycheck. So I'm actually going to put that in paycheck number two. Just because if something comes up in paycheck number one or paycheck number two, then this will be the last line in paycheck number two. So if I have some unbudgeted, then, you know, it's 29 cents. So it really doesn't require all that much thought. But typically, whatever's left over from the month's income, I like to leave in paycheck number two. Because with paycheck number one, once we pay all of our expenses, I like to sweep anything that's left over into our sinking fund. So with this amount that's left over, I don't know whether it's from paycheck number 1 or paycheck number 2. So I could kind of like figure that out once I do these two amounts. But yeah, actually, yeah, let's just save it. Let's just save that to the very last, once we've added up all of our income, to see whether that is entirely in paycheck number 1 or entirely in paycheck number 2, or is it split amongst paycheck number 1 and paycheck number 2. So yeah, I know that's a lot of work for 29 cents, but you know, it's more the practice. So you want to be a steward over every dollar, every penny. So that's just how I like to do it. So what I say, car repair number 1, I forgot to write it in. And then $20 goes to, or house supplies goes in paycheck number 1. And then clothing, $14. And then toiletries, we have some money, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in paycheck number 1, along with fun and holidays. That has like $10. So I'm going to put that in paycheck number 1 as well. So I think that's it for our sinking funds. So mostly the big amount is going to come from this rollover 1 month ahead. So let me go ahead and show you guys what I'm going to do for that. So let me go ahead and finish writing 10 and 10 that we put in paycheck number 1. So from the amount that's, let me subtract the 4,000 paycheck number 1 income, which is 4,309 spot 45, minus the expenses that we had before, which is 3,079 spot 76. And then subtract the car maintenance, subtract the house supplies, the clothing, the toiletries, and the fun. And we have $1,075.69 left. So let's see what's left from paycheck number 2. So paycheck number 2 was 2,494 spot 98, minus the expenses 1,670 spot 93, and then minus the diapers and wipes that we're going to put in paycheck number 2, and then we have 784 spot 05. So with this amount remaining from paycheck number 1, and we still have to set aside money for our rollover, what I'm going to do is this entire amount from paycheck number 1, I am going to allocate in paycheck number 1 so that that amount goes towards the rollover 1 month ahead that we're trying to stay on top of our mortgage. So our mortgage is $1,859 spot 45. So since we have over $1,000 left in paycheck number 1, I'm going to take this entire amount and allocate it towards our rollover. So subtract 1,075 spot 69. And then let's see. So paycheck number 1, 075 spot 69. Okay, so what's left to fund our rollover is $783.76. So that must be allocated. So I'm going to write that in paycheck number 2, $783.76. So those two together equal the mortgage amount that we need for next month to stay 1 month ahead. So since that is now in paycheck number 2 and we've exhausted all of the money for paycheck number 1, so I'm going to set that aside. 783.76 is below the amount that we have left in paycheck number 2. So I know we're good there. So let's go ahead and see what's left in paycheck number 2. So it's that 29 cents that belongs to the medical. So I'm going to go ahead and put 29 cents in the medical. Oh, not in paycheck number 1. We want it in paycheck number 2. Okay, so if my math was correct, then these two columns are going to equal the income amount. So I should have a zero-based budget each paycheck. So just to make sure, because you know I'm all about checking my math, I'm gonna go ahead and add up the expenses so that to see if they actually equal the income per paycheck. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, so for paycheck number one expenses, it's $4,309.45. So let's see if that matches our paycheck number one income. So 4,309.45. Paycheck number one math is correct. Okay, so let's move on to paycheck number two. All right, so paycheck number two is $2,494.98. Let's see if that matches our income. $2,494.98. So paycheck number two's math is correct as well. So that's all I'm going to do on these pages. So just in case you guys have been watching my videos, this has been like what I just did in this video has been what I've been doing off camera in order to get the numbers beforehand to set up my weekly expenses. So if anybody has ever wondered that and never watched that video where I went through my entire process, I'll link it up above, then that's what you guys have been mentioning, what you guys have been missing. And I'm actually glad that I came up with this just to better show you guys every single step of my budgeting process, because as you can see, this is a huge one because I know some people can be confused about once they have their monthly budget, how do you decide what bills to pay in which paycheck? So this is how I decided. It's purely based on when stuff is due and when my family needs whatever, like the diapers, when my family needs the diapers. So doing it like this helps me decide from a financial standpoint where to put our expenses and which paycheck to pay which bills out of. And that's why we're unless our income is lower than expected, that's why we're hardly ever over budget, because I already know beforehand that for the month of March, I only have 29 cents to play with. So I better make sure I'm packing my lunches, make sure we are basically not tempting ourselves with, the different things of this world, because my husband has been hollering about a PS5 for the longest, but I'm like, we got 29 cents, boo. Where do you think we gonna get PS5 money? So knowing all of our bills beforehand, knowing that if I go over our groceries budget, I only have 29 cents to back us up. So I better stick to our groceries budget when we are going grocery shopping. So it's this process that makes me and my husband more conscious of what we're doing, because at this point, if say we go and get him the PS5, we only have half the money right now saved up for his PS5. So if he wanted it right now, like a little child, he couldn't wait and all that other kind of stuff, then he would have to make the decision okay, I want the PS5 now, but we don't have the money for it. So that means we have to figure out where that money is going to come from. And the only other money that we have is our savings account, our emergency fund. So he will be making the conscious decision to dip into our emergency fund in order to pay for his PS5. So that doing it like this kind of weighs, okay, you have this much amount of money and versus the thing that you want. So I just feel like this process allows me to make an informed decision way beforehand, because I know how much money I'm going to have. I know what bills are going to come out of what paycheck. I know what I can move around. So say in paycheck number one, if I needed $100 for something, then I would have to get rid of something in paycheck number one in order to cover it. Because again, we only have 29 cents left over in our March monthly budget. So something got to come out of this budget in order to pay for that thing that we want, or that thing, that emergency that just came up. So that's basically how I do it. So how I finish off my calendar, because again, I already have my expenses on this calendar. All of my time sensitive things with a due date is on this calendar, but I don't have things like sinking funds. So what I'm going to do now is finish up my monthly calendar by putting the items that are not time sensitive, like the diapers and wipes and stuff, on my monthly calendar in the paycheck that they fall in. So for example, diapers and wipes falls into paycheck. Can you guys see? Diapers and wipes falls into paycheck number 2. So what I'm going to do is get a sticker and put it on a date that falls on or after paycheck number 2. Because this is not time sensitive, as long as I put it somewhere between the 12th and the 25th, then I'm okay, because again, it's not time sensitive, so I can go and buy diapers and wipes whenever I want to. I just want it to fall between the 12th and the 25th, because when I go to make my paycheck number 2, when I go to write out my paycheck number 2 and set it up with you guys, I am going to be checking my monthly calendar for anything that falls in between the 12th and the 25th. So that is why it's important to do it on these dates and not just like willy-nilly, because that's what I'm going to base my paycheck budgets on. So let me go ahead and do that. Typically, I like to put like things that aren't time sensitive on Fridays or Saturdays or Sundays, just so that that's when I typically make my transfer to Q Money as well. And I am going to start incorporating my digital cash envelope stuffing in my budget, my paycheck budget videos. So those are going to be coming out a little bit later, because it does take like 2 to 3 days for the money to transfer from our Chase account to Q Money. So instead of doing my paycheck videos on Sundays, I'm going to do them on Wednesdays, I believe, so I can incorporate that bit of footage of me stuffing my digital cash envelope. So that's going to be another process that I am going to share with you guys. But for right now, let's find a place to put these diapers and wipes. The 12th is actually clear, so let's put that there. All right. So what else in paycheck number 2? All of these are bills, so no need to look at that. All of these have, I have not put all of my envelopes. So gas, groceries, and Costco, I need to put as well. So I need to actually put those in both weeks. So let's do that. All right, so let's see. Gas, groceries, Costco's, and then diapers and wipes have all been put on the monthly calendar, so we're good there. All of our sinking funds are mostly going to go on paycheck number 1, except for medical is going to go in paycheck number 2. So again, since these are our sinking funds, I kind of want to put them closer to the 12th, because on Fridays, like Friday the 12th, when I get paid, I'm going to be looking at my calendar to see what all like expenses needs to be transferred over to Cube Money, so I can fund and stuff my digital cash envelopes. So I kind of want to put the items closer to the 12th, because that's where I normally put them, so that it's like a visual reminder to send all of the money for those expenses to Cube. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could probably fit like 3 right here, and then a couple right here. I'm just going to put them all on Monday, because again, just because I put them on the 15th doesn't mean that I have to wait until the 15th in order to transfer the money. So again, they're not time sensitive, so I can put them anywhere on the monthly calendar between the 12th and the 15th, or the 12th and the 25th, sorry. Oh, shoot. These are supposed to go in paycheck number 1. So Saturday is wide open, so I'm going to put them all right there. Okay, so medical, again, that is for the money that's left over in our monthly budget. So I typically like to put the thing that's, the money that's left over in our monthly budget. I like to put that on the last day because typically if we're on budget, I like to empty out our account to 0 and transfer any money that's left from our bill paying account over to Cube into the sinking fund so that I can allocate it in my month end closeout. So like my budget closeout that I do every month. So medical right there. So let's see. So we did everything here, everything there, everything here. Okay. Now we have to do our rollover. We already did these 2 because those are time sensitive, and we already did those 3 because those are time sensitive. So we just need to mark for paycheck number 1 and paycheck number 2 our rollover amounts. So 1 for paycheck number 2. For paycheck number 2, I'm going to put that right here. And I don't need this one, so let's put that one back. And then I need a blue for paycheck number 1. So if I had put these closer together, I could have squeezed it over here because I could fit 6 of these in one box, but it's all right. I'll put it on Sunday. So as you probably noticed, I do not write the amounts on my monthly calendar just because I feel like for the most part, it's redundant because it's already right here. But for whatever reason, no reason in particular, I do like to write the rollover amounts on their respective dates on the monthly calendar. So let me just show you guys. Again, I really do not need to write the amounts for the rollover on my monthly calendar because it's written all throughout the pages of my budget. But just as a visual, when I'm going to write down my expenses for paycheck number 1, which falls from the February 26th through March 11th, when I go to write down my paycheck number 1 budget, I will see this large amount, and that will it's repetition for me so that it's reinforcing that we have goals and this large amount is part of a goal. So if we weren't trying to stay 1 month ahead, that would be extra money. And of course, my husband could go get his PS5, but we have financial goals. So it's kind of like keeping that at the forefront of my mind. So that's why I like to write like very large numbers that correspond to our financial goals on my monthly calendar. So again, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't, but for the most part, I do it. So yeah. So the next step that you guys will see is me taking these expenses from February 26th through March 11th and writing it on my paycheck number 1 budget. So that I typically do that off camera and I just do the numbers with you guys. So now you guys see like the missing step between what I do from my monthly budget to the paycheck budget. And that's basically deciding what paychecks or what expenses I'm going to pay out of what paychecks. And then this will be my guide for setting up, along with my monthly calendar, for setting up my paycheck budgets. So I hope that made sense. If it did and you liked the video, please give the video a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if it feels right. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.